Hey there guys, Mr. Music Fan here. How you guys doing? I'm going to continue a particular discography review that I've left alone for a couple of months now, and it is the review of Moby, electronic artist Moby, Richard Melville Hall, better known as Moby. So I'm deciding to revive the discography review because I've left it alone for a couple of months, and during the hiatus, he has released a new album called Innocence this past late September. So I want to get to that album pretty soon, possibly by the end of this year or early next year, sometime depending. But until that happens, I will review Moby's fourth studio album. I know a particular YouTube user has messaged me and has been asking me for this particular review, so I will get to it right now. And that fourth album is Animal Rights, Moby's fourth studio album, released in 1996. So let's just get quickly with this particular album review, because this is going to be one heck of an album review. So, 1995, I believe is 95. I'm getting the release dates wrong, so again, correct me. So 1995, Moby releases Everything Is Wrong from his third studio album. That album release marks Moby's ambition. He ups his ante. He ups his musical ante to a whole nother plane, another level. He returns to the dance music that he has been known of doing from the first self-titled album, and he somehow combines it with songs that is a better improvement from the second studio album, his Ambient album. And while Everything Is Wrong was his first ever successful release, first ever critically, kind of wayward, heavily critical release. The album, while it was still immensely successful, his first album to be successful, critics still did not know what to make of the record. They could not process over what these songs, these gospel influenced songs, electronic songs, would make Moby out to be. So as you can tell, this really pissed him off a lot, to the point that with his next album, he decides to ditch again the dance music, the ambient music, the electronic music, in favor of returning to his roots. And what I mean by his roots, I mean he returns to his adolescent days in hardcore punk rock bands in the 1980s. In other words, he makes a punk rock influenced album with nearly little trace of the electronic music that we know and love of him for a majority of his career. And Animal Rights, oh wow, this is a much different. Essentially, there were two versions of this album that was released. There is the US version, the standard version, and there's the UK version. I first was exposed to this album by the UK version. The UK version of this album, essentially the UK version is probably the most interesting, in the sense that it's bookended by two ambient songs. The first one, Now I Can Let Go, and the second last song, A Love Song for My Mom. But in between those two songs, you get these punk rock influenced rock songs that Moby decides to create in an effort to confound his critics and to offer up something different, to shake up the core, to shake up the Moby fan base. And the US version is actually much more interesting, and it has a much variety. It has ambient instrumentals like Dead Sun, Old, Alone, A Season in Hell, but it still keeps the more rock influenced songs in the shuffle of it all. You have rock songs like Come On Baby and Flow, and Heavy Flow, that's the name of the song. You. I think You is the name of the song also too. My Love Will Never Die, and Moby's cover of That's When I Reach for My Revolver. I forget what original band created that song first. It's not in my memory right now, but it is indeed a cover. It is a cover song from another band, I think from the 1960s or 70s. I don't remember properly, but it is probably my favorite of the songs. But for this particular review, I'm going to talk about the US version. So the US version is the one that has more variety than the UK version. And of course, I was exposed to the UK version. And the first time I heard songs like Come On Baby and Heavy Flow and Soft, those type of songs, it was like I was going like, what the heck is this? And this is coming out of a guy who in his high school years listened a lot of Nirvana in his high school years. A lot of heavy dark punk rock kind of thing. And particularly like this is really after the fact that I had decided to challenge myself with electronic music, like electronic music that I was not that familiar with. Particularly the first album, Play, Last Night, and those type of dance albums, electronic albums. And while I wasn't familiar with the electronic albums, I really relished in the challenge of getting used to, for me personally, this new style, this new dance music style. If not for the first time, then at least the first time for a really long time, because there was a really long period that I didn't listen to dance music. The last time I listened to dance music was when I was in elementary school. Electronic music, at least. But so I relished in the challenge of listening to electronic music. But then listening to this album and listening to these rock songs, it didn't really come off as daring to me. Like a lot of these songs, especially even coming from me, a rock guy, a rock listener, was just so painfully uncomfortable to listen to. I found myself just struggling and just like Moby embraces his inner adolescent at this point. He embraces his inner punk rocker. And you know what? A lot of the songs off this album, the rock songs, it's like Moby tries too much. He tries so hard to create an atmosphere. Tries so hard to create a rock type of atmosphere, and not to mention his screams, his growls on these songs just creates a whole uncomfortable atmosphere. And I've had my fair share of screaming, angry, shouty, throaty music. I mean, I've heard Nirvana. I've listened to Metallica. I mean, I used to listen to Korn in my earlier days, in my adolescent days. So I'm pretty much used to artists kind of like vocalizing their rage, their inner angst. But with these songs, Moby just does not do that so well. When he does try to do it, it just comes off so forced. And when it comes out so forced, it comes out so painfully uncomfortable. And again, this is coming from a guy who listens to throaty, angry music. But the ambient songs off this record, like Now I Can Let It Go, Love Song for My Mom, Dead Son, I am with these songs. Like these ambient songs alone, like I love these songs. I am with these songs 100%. They are just so dripped in this melancholy, in this tortured pain. The sounds of these particular songs, but they are just really awesome. I adore these songs. I adore the ambient songs. Alone in particular, I would think in the US standard version is personally my favorite off this record. Like it's nearly 8 to 10 minutes long, but it just has this really repetitive drum beat, this bongo beat, along with the play of a synthesizer. And as you go along with the song, it just starts to build and build and build, and it's just a fantastic song. I love this instrumental. I really, really love this instrumental. Also, Love Song for My Mom Too is a very deep, very emotional type of song. Another which I really, really love. This album was created during a very dark period of turmoil for Moby. His mother passed away around this time, and he wrote this song for her, and it's a very beautiful, beautiful song. If I can name a least favorite song off this album, I would say probably most of the rock songs are my least favorite song off this record. Like, I mean, like, it's just like, it's not how I know of Moby. It's not how we know of Moby. It's just like, I do give him the encouragement. I do give him like props for diversifying and experimenting, you know, but these songs just don't work for me. They are not how I know of what Moby is capable of, or what he was capable of. And I would say of the rock songs that are my favorite, I would have to say like That's When I Reach for My Revolver is my favorite song off the rock songs off this album. I think my own personal, I won't say alienation, but discomfort with the rock songs off this album, with his experiment with his adolescent past, would happen to be in the music video for Come On Baby. Ironically, because the previous month after that, I saw a commercial on PBS which has him, I don't remember precisely, but it has him encouraging children to read books or become educated. You know, his usual happy self with like the thick rimmed glasses. And then I watched this video and I'm like, this exact look on my face. And the change is just so, so discomforting. It's like I look a person like Moby in that PBS commercial, and I would not for one second think that it would be the very same guy in the Come On Baby music video. And I don't know exactly why, but this is perhaps my least favorite Moby album. I just don't like the rock songs. I mean, I applaud Moby for trying to diversify. I really do, but for me personally, these songs, these rock songs, just don't do it for me. Like, I mean, I will listen to them occasionally, every once in a while, you know, like, but just the way Moby infuses his anger and his passion within these songs, like especially a song like Soft, for instance, like it just comes out just so uncomfortably painful to listen to. And yeah, this is not my cup of tea. And like also other, like, I mean, the whole rock thing that Moby tries with this album, I've been there. I've been through my fair share of Nirvana. I've been through my fair share of Rage Against the Machine, and you know, like, I mean, I had at this point I had long passed that period of rocking and screaming, you know, and for me to relish the challenge of electronic dance music and feeding the rewards off of that challenge, and then to come to this album, it just sounds, apart from the ambient songs, it just sounds so normal and generic for me. And yeah, I really don't like this album that much. I really, really don't. So yeah, quickly, 4-point grading system. Music originality. Sorry, but I would have to give the originality for this a 2, a number 2. It's definitely not the worst thing to ever come out, but amongst Moby's catalog, it just does not do anything for me. What was the next point again? Oh, songwriting. That's the next point. Sorry, guys. Songwriting. Okay. I mean, there are some points where the songwriting works, but again, would have to be a 2. Like, prior to this, like, Moby never really made himself present in songs. Like, it was mostly just the music and the electronic background. But this is like the first of many instances later in his future albums that he will appear as the vocalist. Anyways, likability, I don't listen to this album too much. I really do not. Like, every once in a while I'll listen to some of the rock songs, you know, just to get a little bit of a kick in every now and then, but I really don't. Again, it would have to be a 2. Actually, I will raise that app actually to a 3. No, 3.5. That's the new rating. 3.5 for likability. Mostly because, again, I love the ambient songs. I really enjoy the ambient songs. But anyways, as for animal rights as a package, again, would have to be a straight 2. 2 out of 5. My least favorite Moby album of his entire catalog, his entire discography. And again, it just does not work for me. However, one thing I want to note is that this album, being my least favorite Moby album, is Moby's favorite album of all the albums that he's done. If you watch the documentary Go of Moby, you will realize that he comments that this is his favorite album. Of all the albums he did, this is his personal favorite. He enjoys a lot of the songs off of here, and it's the album that he listens to more than any other one of his records. And part of the reason why I don't really lower the album too much to, like, let's say like a 1 or a 0, apart from the ambient songs, well, mostly because this was written during a very dark, turbulent time for Moby. His mother passed away, and I feel as if, like, you know, despite all my complaints about it, I feel as if, you know, like, that from watching that documentary, from hearing his opinion from his side, I kind of gained like a somewhat of appreciation for Moby's motive for creating this album, his creative reasons for not making another electronic dance album, but doing something more risky and something more experimental, which is what this album is. It is a risk for Moby, you know. But then again, that's what all the artists do when they find themselves in a box. They try to diversify and take a big gamble, and that's what Moby did with this album. Is that he took a big gamble based on his circumstances, and he tried his best to diversify, to very negative results from the public and the press. And what this album alienated a lot of fans from his fan base, already accustomed to his dance music, and if it alienated his fan base, it really sharply antagonized the critics even more. And so after this album, everyone just saw Moby as a has-been of the music world, and he was almost left to the point that he would have to quit his entire music career, if not for the next album, which I will get to later, you know. But for this particular album, I respect Moby's outlook on this album, and I appreciate his reasons for making this album, as this album really does have its moments, like, you know, like, and I do respect Moby's opinion, his outlook on this album, and I do see why this would be his favorite album, because it is the most raw and honest of all his albums. But for me personally, for my view of this album, it is still my least favorite album. It is an album I don't like. It is an album I don't associate Moby with. And while I do give it its props for being risky, being very out there, and not being so conformed to what was popular at the time, it's still an album that just does nothing for me. It really doesn't do anything for me, and it's still my least favorite album for me, you know. So my opinion, my outlook on this album, you know, I will take the ambient songs any day of the week, not so much the rock songs. So yeah, This has been a really anticipated review. I've gone through now almost nearly 20 minutes of this. So yeah, basically pretty much it. I can't wait to get into the next album review, because the next album is my personal favorite Moby album ever. But I will get to that album review. Anyways, this has been a long review, so sorry if I took a lot of your time. Leave your comments whichever way you're watching this video. Do you love animal rights? Do you hate it? Why? And of course, rate, comment, and subscribe. And I'm about to lose my voice, so I'm going to end right now. Anyway, this has been a really requested video to the user who wanted me to review this album. Did it live up to your expectations? If it did, tell me. And if it did not, please tell me so, because I would love to hear your opinion and your outlook on what do you think of animal rights. So yeah, this has been Moby's Animal Rights 4th studio album. Mr. Music Fan, take care, guys.